The Love Life and Lose Weight podcast will teach you the art and science of changing your habits around food. If you know what to do, but can't figure out why you're just not doing it, this is the right podcast for you. I'm your host, Advanced Certified Weight and Life Coach, Heather Beardsley. I've helped hundreds of women just like you figure out how to think and eat like a normal eater, lose weight, and love life on the journey to goal weight and beyond. Hey, everybody. Welcome to season 2. I know I've kept you waiting, and I'm sorry, but I'm back. It's been a little over 6 months since I wrapped season 1 of the podcast, and it's been necessary to take that long of a break. I really tried to live the advice that I preach, and that is that weight loss or anything in life, in order for it to work, has to be sustainable with the life that you have. So, for season 2 of the podcast, what I'd like to focus it on is making weight loss a practice, giving you some tried and tested ways that I coach weight loss for my own clients. I'll kind of share that transparently with all of you because I know that not all of you can afford to work one on one with a coach. Certainly, I can share with you the ideas and the practices and the techniques that I use with my clients. We'll have more discussions about the new weight loss medications, and I'm going to introduce some Q&A episodes. I take questions from my email subscribers. When I email my subscribers, if they have questions, I encourage them to reply back and let me know what those questions are. And so for some of the episodes periodically going forward, I'm not sure how often I'll do them right now, but I will be sharing those questions and then kind of coaching and teaching on what the answers are for those questions because I want the podcast to be very granular in terms of you listening, what you deal with every single day. My goal with season 2 is to make it very practical, very hands on, and very action oriented. So hopefully we'll get just a touch of like the theory, and then we'll translate that into what life looks like as you apply the theories and the strategies to not only take off your weight, but maintain it for life. Okay, so today I'm going to come out with a bang and just give you my formula, my proven formula for getting the scale to move in the right direction. I just think so many of us feel like we're fucking around with our weight loss and we're just like up, down, not consistent, blah, blah, blah. And we know the tenets of weight loss, right? If you've been listening, you know that the tenets of weight loss are be aware of what you're eating. If you're hungry when you're eating, we want you to be hungry before you put anything in your mouth. We want you to be aware of your physical satiety and when you reach it so that you're not overeating. We want you to be aware of when you do overeat, which is inevitable. Everybody overeats from time to time. Your goal with weight loss is to be aware of how often you're overeating and then comparing that with the results you're getting on the scale each week. And the more you can stay aware of the frequency of your overeating and how that affects the scale week to week, then you get a really good idea of what I call your blueprint number of overeats is, where you know how often you can overeat from week to week and still lose weight. So this doesn't have to be some, magical math problem. I'd say for most of my clients who have 40 pounds or less to lose, um, overeats need to be kept to, I don't know, maybe the most generous would be 4 overeats down to maybe 1. Most of my clients can overeat twice and still lose weight. But again, it depends on what your overeating looks like. You know, an overeat can be one bite past what you know is enough. An overeat can also be like what some people consider to be a binge. So the differential on this is going to be subjective, and it's going to depend on how you overeat, right? The other part of weight loss is, understanding that most of the time you will not be overeating. Most of my clients get consistent weight loss if they can follow their hunger and satiety cues at least 80% of the time. So that's what you want to be, going for. And in order to do all this, you have to be aware of how often you're doing things, right? You need to be writing it down. If it's not enough to just be like, have a good intention to overeat less. But when you weigh in, you have no idea how often you've overeaten that week, right? It's just like an athlete training for the Olympics. They don't just get out there and say they do track and field and just try to run as fast as they can. They're timing themselves. They're seeing what their performance is. They're looking for incremental progress, and they're keeping all of that data. Not only are they keeping that data, but they're seeing how their life affects their performance. And it's no different with weight loss too. I want you becoming very aware of and having a way for you to track some of these things. So at a minimum, one of the tenets of weight loss is to create a daily plan for what you will be eating, not as a way to eat virtuously or eat certain foods. That's not what I teach. It's a way for you to make decisions ahead of time to make the choices to eat easier for you. So when you make a decision about what you're going to be eating, as much as is reasonable, the only thing then that you have to do in the moment is check in with your body, make sure you're physically hungry before you eat, and then stay aware and attached to your body as you're eating so that you can identify the point in time at which you are at enough. So there is an episode from season 1 all about making peace with hunger and eating to enough. I really highly, highly recommend you go back there and listen to the details on that if you're not sure about how to cue into your body cues, your hunger and satiety cues to eat to enough. So there's 2 parts in summary. One is getting a really good handle on what eating to what physically enough is for you, and also knowing when you're physically hungry and when it's appropriate to eat. The other part of it is decreasing the amount of overeats that you are having each week to a number that allows you to lose weight. And this is where I want to give you my winning formula. So back to the question of why can't I get the scale to consistently move? Here's what I need you to do. I want you to go back to the last week or 2 weeks if you have your data. Even if you don't have data, I want you to create data and go back. Like first of all, you have to have a regular weigh-in day that's happening at the same day of the week, each and every week. So commit to a weigh-in day. If you don't have that, pick it. Then prior to your last weigh-in, count how many times you overate. And, there's no alarm system that goes off when you overeat. This is a judgment call that you have to make. You have to start making a decision about what it is. So go back, look at your calendar, try to jog your memory, and try to keep track of how many overeats that was. Then I want you to bring that number and compare it with whether you gained, maintained, or lost weight at your last weigh-in. So X number of overeats equals the result that you had. Now I want you to look at those numbers. If you maintained, that's good to know. X number of overeats equals maintenance. That's your current hypothesis based on last week's data. If let's say you had 6 overeats and you gained half a pound, 6 overeats equals plus 0.5. Okay, that would be your hypothesis for overeating that leads to weight gain. Now, if you happen to lose last week, how many overeats was that where you had a loss? Okay, so each week, I want you counting how often you are overeating. And then you're using that data to make data driven conclusions about the frequency of overeating and what result that gives you on the scale. Okay. So to get the scale to move, obviously, this is for those of you who are just fucking around with your weight loss, you're maintaining, or you're even gaining. I want you to get your formula of number of overeats and what it does on the scale. And then your job moving forward is to decrease the number of overeats by 1 or 2 this coming week, for the full 7 days prior to your next weigh-in. So let's say when you compiled your data, again, let's say it was 6 overeats equals a gain of 0.5. Okay, so that means this coming week, your goal is going to be to reduce the number of overeats by 1 or 2. So your goal would be 5 or 4 overeats. Decide what it's going to be. Check that with the actual week that you have coming up, your social engagements, going out, whether you're going on vacation or whatever. Make sure that you can commit to this, what you're asking yourself to do. It has to be doable. If it's not doable next week, then you wait until the week after. Wait until a week happens that, you can make it happen. Like if you're going for a vacation, next week is probably not a good week, right? But if it's just a regular week, then yeah, go for it. So this means when you make your daily plan for food, you're going to keep track on that day. Before you make your plan, you're going to know, how often have I overeaten before I even make my plan for today? So that means finding a place on your daily plan. If you don't have a daily plan that tracks this, you can download my daily planner by subscribing to my newsletter. You'll get that download right away. You can subscribe at hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe. And you'll see on that daily planner, you can just write it on whatever planner that you use. It says, I know, or your theory is this many of overeats this week. So far, I've had this many. So what I want you to do is to know, can you afford to overeat that day? Right? If you've used up all your overeats, then when you plan for your day, I want you being aware of that. And then I want you making a plan for like, what happens if you get tempted to overeat? What are you going to say to yourself? How are you going to distract yourself? Are you going to use accountability or a buddy to like help you? You need to have a plan to overcome obstacles. So usually for most of my clients, like I said, they can overeat, at least one time. Most of my clients can overeat twice. It just depends. This is something that you need to test out, doing exactly what I'm saying to do. And so for the 2 overeats, you can plan one of them ahead of time. I know that sounds funny to plan an overeat, but you're overeating anyway. And anything that you can do that you make a conscious decision ahead of time to do, you will feel more in control and less judgmental of the overeating if you plan for it on purpose. Okay. So, for me, one of my favorite eating days is going to Pepe's Pizza in Delray Beach and having pizza. I mean, if I'm going to have an overeat for the week, I like to have that extra slice of pizza on a Friday night. So usually on Friday night, I'll plan for one overeat. And then, yeah, I'm somebody who can overeat twice and still lose weight as long as those overeats aren't too big. That's what my data has told me over and over again. So, I'll usually plan for one overeat. And then if I don't have anything else coming up that I feel like I might want to overeat on purpose, like to plan for it, then I'll just keep the second one in case like I have an overeat, but I won't necessarily plan for it. It's really up to you how you want to do it. So, that's how you do it. And then see if you can decrease slowly the number of overeats you're having over time. Like some of my clients, they start out with 17 overeats. It's fine. It doesn't matter as long as you start decreasing them by one or two consistently each and every week. That is consistent habit change. So let's say you're somebody with lots of overeats, 17 maybe. Look at how, when you're having those overeats, when you've counted them up from the last weigh-in week that you had, and ask yourself of all the overeats that you had, which ones are the easiest for you to give up? And just start there. For a lot of my clients, this is like bullshit, like grab assing food off the counter or like snacking when you're not hungry in between breakfast and lunch or lunch and dinner. Doesn't really mean a lot to you and it's kind of easy to give up. So start there. And that's how you do it. That's how you get the scale to start moving and you stop bucking around with your weight loss. Okay. I hope this has been helpful. Visit me on Instagram. I am now more active on there and I'll be posting the new episodes periodically over there. And I would love to hear what you have to say about my method for getting the scale to move and stop being fucking around with your weight loss. Okay. I've missed you guys. Thank you for tuning in and I'll see you soon. Stay focused and so long. Hey, if this episode resonated for you, then let's connect. Visit hbeardsley.com/subscribe. That's HBEARDSLEY.com/subscribe and get on the list. You'll get a free gift, periodic coaching, plus advance notice of in-person events and workshops.